Hi Aquas and Aqua lovers. This reading is for anyone who identifies as or finds themselves very interested in an Aquarian energy at this time. Aquarius. I know your reading is very late in February, just at the end of your season, actually, right? Just right before it becomes Pisces season. Okay. Oh, Aquas. 9 of Swords. But we are going to do 2 readings for you today, late or not. I know these are labeled as mid-February readings, but it may resonate with the entirety of the month for some of you. And for others, it will just be the second half of February. We'll do a general reading first, and then move on to a reading that is intended to speak specifically to your love lives. And I say intended because normally when I do this, when I say one reading is general, one is love, or one is business and one is love, just whatever wants to come out comes out anyway. So we'll see what comes up for us. So you've got the 9 of Swords in your present moment. And I hate that. I hate that this is your message in your birthday season. It is what it is. I don't know why I even let myself have an opinion about it, right? I'm going to just read the messages that come up. But right at the end of your birthday season and right before Pisces season begins, the message coming up is that Aquarians are worried. You're afraid of something. It's consuming you. It's covering you in this spread. It's keeping you up at night. It may actually be causing insomnia for some of you, going all the way to the fullest extent. Certainly some doubt and a need to get out of your head and into your body. That's always a good piece of advice for those identifying as Aquarians, identifying with Aquarian energy. We do tend to stay in our heads. This is the second time I've seen the Emperor in reverse for you now. I saw that while shuffling and meditating with the deck before recording, Aquarians. So it may have to do with a divine masculine energy missing from your life, someone that you consider a divine masculine counterpart, or even a father figure, or someone who you were close with, that you any family member or friend who you considered a divine masculine energy. Ultimately, this worry and this fear is stemming from your need to speak your truth, Aquarians. And that's what's going to happen in the outcome of the situation. By the end of the month, the beginning of next, I see you speaking up, owning your truth, wielding your truth, talking about what needs talked about here. That has a lot to do with you owning your power too, which is something else that the Emperor in reverse in your near future can represent for us, that you're not in your full power, or you're not taking authority and control in your life where you could, where honestly you're meant to, because it's your life. I do see yourself freeing yourself of an addiction. So like I said, this may be a love reading for some, even though the second reading was supposed to be intended to be the love reading. It just sort of, whatever wants to come out in each message does. When I divide it like this, it's almost as if to say you can't define us. And I like that. It is what it is. So for some, it's a different addiction. For some, it is this divine masculine. You are separating from a codependency type of situation, and in the near future, I don't see them coming back around anytime soon. But you may go to them with your truth. It may be harsh. It may be just immature communication when we see the Page of Swords, but nonetheless, you may decide to go to them with your message of what you feel needs said. Now, like I said, for others, it doesn't have to be a divine masculine energy. And even if it is, like I said, it could be family, it could be friends. It doesn't have to be a romantic partner. But when I see the Devil in reverse, that gives me the feeling that, yeah, there could have possibly been a codependency. And familial relationships can definitely be codependencies as well. Whatever the situation, I do see yourself currently freeing yourself from an addiction. It's like the ties that you have, whatever you're attached to, whatever you're addicted to, that you're freeing yourself from. It's like the process of letting go of this addiction, this attachment. Doing that work is draining you mentally. There's a lot of, like I said, with the Nine of Swords, fear and worry associated with it. 2 pages, so you have 2 11s here on the table. If 1111 has been showing up for you, this may be particularly significant, or it may prove to be particularly significant as you move through the rest of February, Aquarians. So I see 1111, and then I also see 1-1, because you have the Ace of Pentacles in the root of the situation and the Ace of Swords on the bottom. So 1111 and 1-1 may either or may be particularly significant for you. And when I see ones repeating like that, in general, for me, I see thoughts manifesting, like the thoughts you're having literally manifesting right in front of you. You it being so blatant that you start to notice, if you pay attention, that what you're thinking is becoming a reality. So you really need to get out of your head and into your body. Like I said, always get advice for somebody identifying as an Aquarian. We tend to do this. We tend to overanalyze, and it can turn into this worry, this doubt, this fear, these sleepless nights. Above all else, I see the message, the advice to get out of your, like I said, get out of your head, get into your body, and however that works for you, whatever that means for you. For some of you, that's exercise, get outside, get into nature, go for a run. For some of you, that's dance, put on some music and sing and dance. For some of you, it's just get up and clean the house and do the dishes. You know, anything that literally puts you into your body. And you can meditate while exercising, while cleaning. You know, you can do these things simultaneously. It's a different type of meditation, sure, but you need to slow down. You need to slow down. I think you don't mean to be reckless, but you are being reckless just by being flippant with your own thoughts. Maybe they're self-deprecating thoughts, defeating thoughts in some way, shape, or form about your situation, about what it means to let go of this attachment, this addiction. It may be a person, it may be a habit, it may be a love, it may just be a way of life. It can, you could be freeing yourself from watching too much television or eating too many cheeseburgers. It can be anything. And addictions are part of human nature, right? We do this. You can be addicted to healthy things even, and then take that too far. But I do see you freeing yourself from it. I think for a lot of you, it may actually be the limiting beliefs. It may actually be the negative, self-deprecating, self-defeating thoughts that are keeping you in this worry and keeping you in this fear. I think for a lot of you, I think that's exactly what you're addicted to, that you're freeing yourself from. Just an example, like you could be really reliant on self-deprecating humor, which seems like turning a negative to a positive, right? And sometimes being able to laugh at ourselves is a positive, absolutely. But at the same time, if it's actually dark humor that you're taking to a self-deprecating place, that's just another way of you tearing yourself down. It's another way of planting negative affirmations in your mind. And you may literally have to, it's a specific example, but you may literally have to tackle these thoughts, tackle that tendency, tackle that habit. And it can be really hard because that may mean shedding parts of yourself, things that, you know, that's part of who you are. That's part of what made you happy about who you were even. That's something you liked about yourself. And you know, you can have to let go of that. You may be addicted to these parts of your personality as well as these thought patterns, and you have to let go because they're toxic. They're not healthy for you. In the root of the situation, you've been offered some type of physical security, like a gift from the divine, or actually, you know, it may actually seem like a gift from someone else, but something physical, something tangible. So a new job, a raise, moving into a new home, starting your own new business is often what comes up for me when I see the Ace of Pentacles. It's an earthly opportunity that you have, that you've been sent. It's an opportunity to improve your health, probably likely improve your finances, improve your income of resources in some way, shape, or form. That's what this is rooted in. Somehow your bliss has become your burden this month. And as I said, for some it may resonate with the entirety of the month. For others, it's just going to be the second half, the end of the month. But somehow an opportunity to make more money, an opportunity to improve your physical circumstances, improve your health in some way, by living someplace better, making more money, something like that, has turned into a burden. And maybe because in order to accept the opportunity, you have to leave some things behind. And maybe because it's a big opportunity and you're afraid to take it. You're afraid you'll fail. You're afraid you'll fumble the ball and mess it up to some extent. Because it looks like you do have, it led you to realizing in the recent past that you do have some things to learn. And maybe some of you just don't want to. You may just not be feeling up to the task. You may be feeling tired, a little lazy even, unprepared, and like you need a break. And I hate to say this, but that's what's really coming through. That's what I'm really seeing, is that you were offered this opportunity and it just felt like too weighty. It was exciting, but it felt like too much. You were afraid you wouldn't live up to it. And there were things you needed to learn in order to live up to it. And you decided this is exactly the time when I need a break. And you may have missed the opportunity or changed the opportunity or suspended it, like put it off till a later time. Because with the Page of Pentacles in reverse there, it indicates that there may have been a loss then, like you lost the opportunity, or just that, like I said, you just decided you needed a break. But that would be sort of a defense mechanism to decide right when a huge opportunity is gifted to you from someone or the divine, which is where it's really rooted in. You decide, well, this is the moment where I need to take time off. And that's just, it kind of plays out like it looks like self-sabotage. I know a lot of people talk about now that doesn't really happen, but it's all perspective. Sometimes it absolutely does. Sometimes we are afraid of, that's just a way to say it. Maybe that's not the way some of you would say it anymore, but sometimes it plays out looking like self-sabotage because you're scared of how big the opportunity is, and so you just decide to kind of run from it. The reason that it's technically not self-sabotage is because that is some part of yourself telling you, hey, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for this. So fear not. If it's an opportunity or even just the type of opportunity that is meant for you, Aquarians, it will resurface. It will come around again when you are more prepared for it, when you are more educated on whatever subject matter that opportunity revolves around, when you feel more confident about accepting it and You're ready to face that fear. But that's what I see has happened for some of you. And that's why that confidence is still lacking in the near future. That's why, even though it looks like you're going to overcome these limiting beliefs, you're going to detach from this thought pattern that you've been so addicted to. It's probably limiting beliefs that you've been so addicted to, just a definition of who you are, a story you're telling yourself of what you're capable of. Like, for example, when our parents are professionals or super talented at any particular subject matter, and then they start teaching us how to do that art, that craft, that job, run that business, whatever it is that they are gifted at doing at a very young age, like 4 or 5, and we do it for the next decade or 2 of our lives, we've told ourselves, that person then has likely told themselves a story that they're more than capable of doing this thing. This makes sense for me. I started learning this when I was young. My mom or dad was great at it, and they gave me personal attention in teaching me how to run this business or to do this craft, this art, to produce this particular thing. So it makes sense. My story is then that it makes sense for me to do this. It feels like it's destined or meant for me to go ahead and do this thing because I've been doing it for so long. I'm so good at it. It was like it was meant to be because I came into the world learning how to do it from a person who was nurturing me and also teaching me this, right? So in that story, you end up feeling confident about doing that thing. But what if that person decides after 2 decades of learning this, that that's not what they're passionate about? That's not what they want to do. That's not who they want to be. Then they have a new story of like, okay, I'm going to do something I've never tried before, that I'm not starting until I'm 25. They may not feel as confident about that thing. Then their story, just an example, not everybody is this way, but then their story could be, well, I'm not as good as people whose parents taught them how to do this from when they were young. I was really meant for something else. I didn't start till I was 25. That's really late in life. It seems so young from one perspective, but from another perspective, as much as this world values youth, people can feel like, well, I'm kind of too old to start brand new at something. I need to stick with what I know. And then their story doesn't make sense to them. Their story doesn't leave them feeling confident. And Aquarians, we of all signs, of all people, we need things to kind of make sense for us. So you may need your story to make sense. And this opportunity came at a time when you didn't believe you were capable of taking it, or at least not taking it to its fullest potential, to its fullest extent. So you just kind of took a break instead of taking the opportunity, and now you're feeling like, oh my God, what did I do? And you're up all night worried and full of doubt and full of fear and confusion. Like, my story tells me that I need to do something that I don't actually want to do, and when I try to do the thing I want to do, I don't feel like I'm capable of it. And the answer to the question is that, like I said, you may just have some things that you need to learn in order to be ready for this type of opportunity, in order to embark on this new subject matter or this new way of life, this new way of being, this new maybe job, career opportunity that you're really passionate about, that you're really longing for, really wanting. And I think I do believe you are seeing, I don't think that this is like all negative. I do believe with the Devil in reverse that you are seeing this. You're seeing that you need to tell yourself a new story, that you need to make it make sense. You need to look at examples of outliers. There's a book called The Outliers. I've just mentioned this to someone else. It may have been you, Aquarians. I just mentioned this to someone else, but it's worth reading. It's really, really interesting, really informative, and a really good read. But you need to start looking at examples maybe of people who are outliers that, didn't start doing what they're great at until they were 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 even. There are real examples of this happening. A painter in particular that I can think of who I'm sure you all have heard of as well, that she didn't start painting until she was 70, 80, 90, older, up there in years. Just a much more mature woman than people would expect to just start something brand new. And it's almost sad, because that's what life is about, is don't ever stop changing, don't ever stop evolving, don't ever stop growing. And it's so surprising and rare, because we don't see it often enough. And that to me is sad, because that really is what life is about. You don't just plateau at any point. You don't reach a point where you know what you're going to know. You've done what you're going to do. If you're still here, then you're still living. You should still be changing and growing and learning. And that's what some of you are like resisting a little bit. Like, I don't want to start learning all over. But if you want to start doing something brand new, you're going to have to start learning all over. And you really just need to slow down your thoughts. Like, you need to meditate more, and you need to get into your body. And that's why I said you can meditate while you're exercising. You can meditate while you're cleaning. Because I'm also sensing that some of you feel like you don't have time for all of those things, but that is what you need right now. And you are freeing yourself of that story of these limiting beliefs. This is what I'm capable of. This is who I am. This is what I was meant for. You are seeing that you need to start, like I said, telling yourself a new story about what you could actually be capable of, and looking at these examples of people who started doing random things they'd never tried before, and it turned out that was their life calling, like in their mid-years or late life, right? Or what we consider right now to be midlife, late in life. But it's a process. It's a process of retraining your thoughts and saying new affirmations and saying new mantras. Like, do this for yourself. Grant yourself this, Aquarians. Find affirmations that work for you. Find chants that work for you. You know, if you realize that you need to tell yourself a new story and you need to change these limiting beliefs about what you're capable of, just realizing it isn't enough. Then you have to actually do the work of telling yourself a new story, writing about it every day, or saying these affirmations out loud every day. Find just one. Start with one that works for you. Because you're really advised here to slow down, and I believe that this is in terms of your thoughts, in terms of your mental activity. You're speeding through reasons why not. You're rushing through reasons why this was such a failure of yours, to not accept this opportunity, or to not have done as well with it yet as you've hoped, if that's more so the case. And that, honestly, when you see the Knight of Swords in reverse, like, you have to be careful, because when you're in this, if you stay in this state, you're not just harming yourself, you're hurting everyone else around you. When you're in this place of like worry, fear, doubt, and sleepless nights, and you're irritable because you're not getting sleep, and you're stressed out, and you're down on yourself, you start being down on everyone around you and biting back at people for nothing. Like, you can be disrespectful. You can actually be subconsciously looking for fights, looking for a release, an outlet, to relieve the tension, you know. So you end up yelling at somebody who doesn't deserve it, or being really disrespectful, and then you're dealing with a new worry of like, how do I apologize and explain myself? You know, I get the feeling you don't really want to share this with anybody. You don't want to talk about not believing in yourself. You don't want to talk about, you know, having these limiting beliefs. You just want to change your story and just be somebody who's not so worried. Well, if you start stepping on feelings and causing yourself reason to need to apologize to people, you're not going to have any choice but to share some of it. And you don't want to do that. So, you know, in order to be respectful of not just yourself, but everybody, you really do need to slow down. Make sure you don't end up stepping on somebody else's feelings because yours are hurting right now. Focus on making it a story that makes you feel secure, because this is it's all making you feel kind of insecure, and like in the near future, like you aren't the boss of your own life. Like, you can't, you know, you don't even have the confidence to be the authority in your own life. Let me sit with this Emperor for just a second. Yeah, like, as if you're not the writer of your own story. Like, you're not leading your own life. And honestly, Aquarians, it's your ego. It's your ego that's afraid. It's your ego that's telling you don't want to look foolish trying to learn or do something brand new. It's your ego. That is your ego. It's your ego that's doubting you. That little voice that's like, oh yeah, okay, are you really going to try something new at this point? Good luck. That's your ego. And it's causing these fears. It's your ego saying like, that's not really possible. Or even saying like that dream that you're having, that is a fantasy. Like it could actually be saying that what you are picturing for yourself, what you're desiring and wanting, that the life, the way of being, the type of work, it can even be saying to you like, it's not real. Like that's just something, that's a mirage. That's just something you're imagining. It's not real. It's not something you can actually bring into the tangible physical 3D world. And that's just your ego that's caught up with what your story is and what it looks like to other people. And the fact that, honestly, the fact that we need things to make sense too. It needs to make sense for us. The story has to make sense. Why can't we just have faith that we don't know everything? We don't understand everything. It does make sense from some perspective. Maybe we'll get to enjoy that perspective one day. Well, we're here to experience it. It doesn't have to all make sense. We don't have to know the ending of the story now. We don't have to understand the reasoning behind everything. That's so hard for Aquarians to accept. Like, we want to know why, though. Well, that's nice. Lots of people want lots of things. You can't have everything you want. That it's really infecting your experience, that you need the whole story to make sense for you before you even live it. And it's just that's just your ego, really. That's just our ego saying, well, we need it to make sense. We need to know why. We need to understand. Well, our whole life will be about striving to understand why and making things make sense. But we also have to accept that there are points where it requires faith, because there's not logic or reasoning, or we don't enjoy every perspective that would make it all make sense. We can just have faith that it will. One day we'll look back and it will make sense. And some Aquarians at this time are saying, well, I can't move forward without it making sense now. And that is only going to be a detriment to you. And like I said, maybe people around you whose feelings you start hurting and stepping on because you're in such a painful mental space. So yeah, that story, it might not make sense yet. The story that you're telling yourself, the new story of like, well, I can be an exception to the rule. I can be an outlier. I can be someone who achieves this even though it doesn't look, doesn't look likely from a lot of people's perspectives, even though I can't even make it make sense to me why I know this is my life purpose and I have no training in this, or something to that effect, right? It may not make sense yet, and it doesn't need to have the experience. It may be something that's not meant to make sense yet. Maybe you're meant to go through the experience and do your first part of this work as someone who doesn't understand what they're doing. Maybe that's what's going to make the work that you contribute to this new field or whatever it is to you unique. Maybe that's what's going to make it so great, because it's coming from the perspective of someone who is coming from another field, having had training in something else, right? But you need to, if as you start to tell yourself these new affirmations, this new story that makes you feel more confident, that makes you feel like, hey, I'm in charge. I'm the leader of my life. If I want to focus on this area, if I want to study this instead, then I will. I'll do what makes me happy. In order to start telling yourself that new story, these new affirmations, I think it needs to be things that make you feel secure, because this is all coming around to make you feel insecure. And that's definitely what you feel in this Nine of Swords space. Insecurity. So you're advised to focus on what does make you feel secure. What do you feel confident about? What do you have that makes you feel wealthy? Because a lot of times when you're in the Nine of Swords vibration and you're in that spot, you just need to start in general focusing on things that make you feel positive. So what do you have to be grateful for? First of all, what do you have to, that makes you feel safe and secure and healthy and wealthy? And then, I hate to always hit this point home, but then look at it from the perspective of like, a lot of people have it a lot worse. A lot of people want to do what you want to do, but they don't have all those things that make them feel secure, healthy, wealthy. They don't have as many things to find gratitude in, right? It could be worse. You could have these desires and know for a fact that there's no way you can manifest it for the next 20 years because you got to get healthy first. You know what I mean? Like somebody wants the same thing you do and they're even further away from the goal than you are, basically. So what do you have that just will raise your vibration? First of all, what do you have around you that will just make you feel or help you to focus on what what you do have that makes you feel secure already. It may not seem directly related to what it is that's upsetting you and what you want to do, but anything that raises your vibration out of this place is, because you can't do anything you want to do from this spot. Nothing. Except for get out of it. And that's what you're doing. That is what you're doing. And it is a process and it takes time. So I wouldn't expect you to turn around and feel confident the next day. And it looks like, you know, this divine masculine energy is still missing from your life in the near future. So for some of you, that's literally a person, but for others, that's, you know, you're still not quite ready to lead your own life. And I see your ego being a lot of what's getting in the way. Also, the story that you are telling yourself, it's also just not true. If your intuition, your heart, any divine energy that you're communicating with beyond the veil, whatever you label it as, whatever title, word anchors you in that respect, if these things, this divinity, your own higher self, your own intuition is telling you that a certain path is meant for you, that a certain path is purposeful for you, makes you feel like you have a sense of purpose, it makes you feel happy, and is actually the destiny that you're meant to strive for, then the story that it's not, the story that, well, maybe I'm really just meant to do what I'm good at, even though that's not what I'm passionate about, or what I've already learned just because I've honed those skills since I was young, or something like that, just to go back to our example. That story is not true. That's the lie you're telling yourself. And that voice speaking up and saying, well, maybe what you really want and are really passionate about, maybe believing that dream could be a reality, maybe that's a lie. That's your ego. That's your fear. That's your ego. That's the lie. And that's what I see. You have so many options. And this came up for you before recording too, when I was shuffling and meditating the Seven of Cups. I think actually it was on the bottom of the deck for us when we started, right? You have so many options and so many choices, and you're turning them into stresses and burdens. And yeah, I think this story, I think you're a very honest person who's lying to themselves. The story you're telling yourself about why you can't accept this opportunity, why you're not ready for it, why you're not prepared, why you're not somebody who can live that life that you really want. That's whatever that story is. That's the lie. That's what's putting you in this space. What you feel passionate about, what you really want to do, what is calling to you, that's your truth. You may not be skilled at it yet. You may be really immature at wielding that truth, but you are going to. Now, like I said, for a few of you, I'm talking about you wielding a truth toward the actual divine feminine or divine masculine energy that's missing. Yeah, for some of you. But most of all, what I'm hearing here is this is you living the life you want to, starting to learn about this new subject area that you're interested in, owning the fact that if you want it and you love it and you're passionate about it and you can't stop thinking about it, you can't stop thinking about it to the point where it puts you in this state that you either missed an opportunity or are afraid that you can't do it. It makes you feel like this. Well, that's because it's what you're meant to do. You should go into that fear. You should move toward it. You should move into it. Absolutely. No doubt in my mind. You move into that fear. You move through it. You move toward what makes you feel that scared. You think that this feels bad? Imagine once you get to your deathbed realizing you never even really tried to do that thing you really wanted to do. And I mean really tried. Trying a couple times and failing and not giving it another chance. That's not really trying. That's not enough. You're going to be disappointed in yourself at some point. You really are. Like a disappointment that's a lot deeper than this Nine of Swords. You look into what your North Node is. That's your soul's mission. Look into your South Node and your North Node. If I'm sure if you're here, you have an interest in astrology. Look into it, because yes, I feel physical confirmation. That may help you tell yourself, a new story that does make sense and does make you feel more secure about embarking on this path. Your South Node is what you came into this life knowing already, and so that's what you're going to feel real comfortable with. But your North Node is your soul's mission. These are the type of things that you're going to want to accomplish to feel like you've lived your life, not just existed until you died, but actually lived your life and lived it to a satisfying, fulfilling extent. I feel I've done what I was supposed to do here. So check that out. Check out your chart. Check out your South Node. Check out your North Node. Your North Node is going to help you tell the story that you want, no doubt in my mind. Your North Node is going to help you tell yourself the story that you want to be. Tell yourself a true story about who you are, and it'll explain to you why you feel so overwhelmingly drawn to this thing that maybe you haven't been trained for, and why you feel so adept at doing things that you are good at, but it's not really your passion. We all have that. We all have a South Node. So we all have this area where we're great at it. That's what we did in our last life. We feel real comfortable doing it. We're real good at it, but it's not what we're meant to do here. We all have that. Whether, you acknowledge it or not, that exists for all of us. So definitely check that out as an avenue that, like I said, can help you tell yourself a story you like better. It will help you tell yourself a story that you like better. It will help if you make sense of why you feel so drawn toward and passionate about this area that maybe doesn't make sense for you yet. And some of you, you are obviously, a lot of you already know all about that, know what that is. But if you don't, take a look. Okay, on to your love reading. Skipping over to your love reading after barking at you for 35 minutes. I love you, Aquarians. So, in terms of your love life, we've got the Six of Cups showing up. It looks like you are having fond memories about someone from your past. You are feeling nostalgic when you see the Six of Cups. Looking back at good times with someone, and or receiving a gift from an admirer. So that, which is that's kind of what it is. When you indulge in nostalgia and you indulge in good memories from your past, that's sort of a gift from yourself, right? So that may be the gift specifically, or it may be maybe a gift from someone else. Still feel like, even if that's the case, that it's someone from your past. A lot of people say Six of Cups is soulmate energy. I don't. It is. It undeniably is. A lot of times it is. But whether you like that term, soulmate, or not, it is often talking about a divine partnership, let's say. I usually don't. I don't know why I resist that. I have some personal resistance around that. I don't know why I don't delve into the Six of Cups meaning that connection more. But inevitably, over and over and over again, it does show up that way. So it can be a divine connection in particular that we're talking about. And yet, that connection either requires a lot of work or is overshadowed by the fact that you're so focused on your work. Some type of hard work, monotonous hard work, yours, theirs, or the work that you two have to do together in this connection, some type of hard, monotonous work that's overshadowing it. Now, the reason that it's so much work, and that maybe this person is just a memory at this point, is because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, is because someone's lacking failing to show themselves enough love. Maybe directly springing from a lack of self-worth, possibly, with the Nine of Cups in reverse. So you have the Two of Cups as well. That's actually in your advice position here, though. And the Temperance card on the bottom of the deck in reverse, Aquarians. So you may be hooking up with this person in the near future. You may get together. I see some sexual energy in the near future with the Ace of Wands showing up. There may be a physical connection coming together because you're having such nostalgia. These memories, this nostalgia has surfaced, or this person with a gift for you has surfaced as a result of you having been in your feelings. So if they've actually physically come into your space recently, or if that's happening now or in the near future, it's very likely that a lot of you manifested that for yourself because you were just so much in your feelings, thinking that you wanted a soulmate energy, thinking you wanted a divine partnership, maybe thinking about them specifically. And so if they've actually come around, or if they do soon, it looks like some of you have brought that about yourself. But it looks like you've been in a really tender place. Maybe a really psychic, empathic place, yes. But just feeling really sensitive, feeling your way through everything the way that this queen does. Maybe creating some art about it. And I think, feeling beautiful, feeling your own beauty, feeling yourself in that way, being in your feelings, wanting a loving connection and feeling beautiful and feeling deserving of a loving connection. And so, like I said, I see some sexual energy in the near future. You may literally physically get together and have a hookup with this person. But somebody in the root of the situation wasn't showing themselves enough care, wasn't showing themselves enough self-love, or either one of you wasn't showing yourself enough self-care, or this other person, while you do feel nostalgic for them now, at some point was inconsiderate, just kind of smug towards you with the Nine of Cups in reverse. That's just for a few. That's just for some. For most, I don't know exactly what happened. Let's get one clarification card on that Nine of Cups in reverse. But for a lot of you, you guys just kind of gave up on this dream of each other. You sort of, you had this mutual wish for each other and what you wanted the coupling to be, and you let it die. You just gave up on it. You couldn't let yourselves have what you wanted. I'm sure it'll play out specifically differently for each of you, but that's what's in the root of the situation. Yeah, definitely feel soulmate energy here. Okay, we talked so much about how the Six of Cups can be soulmate energy, and then the Two of Cups shows up right below that. And let me get this music back on. Sorry. I fumble so much with this music. Just one minute. I refuse to not have it. I know some of you don't particularly love it, but I need it. It's kind of for me. Okay. Do what you do. Go on. I'm just gonna pause you. Okay. But yeah, so Six of Cups, Two of Cups, and now we have the King and Queen of Cups. Okay. So, yeah, it was kind of them, right? It was sort of them. They let this, I keep wanting to say they let this dream die because it's the Nine of Cups in reverse. I don't, that sounds like such a harsh way to say it. For some of you, it may be an Aries in particular. with the this image here on the Ace of Fire on the bottom of the deck. But that's the second time. You have a lot of sexual energy. You're really attracted to each other. There's a lot of attraction and that type of physical connection between the two of you. And I think that's why here in the near future, it doesn't take much more than you thinking about them and both of you may be feeling nostalgic. It doesn't take much more than that for you two to hook up. You know, if you're both in that space, it just kind of happens because there's a lot of attraction. There's a lot of sexual energy because we got the Ace of Fire twice. For others of you, like I said, that could be an indication that they're a fire sign. Particularly Aries is what's coming through, but it could be any sign. You know, that could be anywhere in either of your charts. So don't take that to, you know, don't let that ruin the message for you if you connect with it in other ways. But I see this having been a really harmonious connection with a person who does have a lot of integrity, like you, Aquarians. And I see this as a situation where you need to acknowledge, both of you, at least you, right? You can only control you. You need to acknowledge what you mean to each other, that you feel this divine energy between the two of you. Maybe you don't call it soulmates, or maybe you don't label it at all. I really want, that's something else that I have to say I have resistance towards. So I don't want that to like bleed into your message and affect what I'm saying to you. But personally, I resist labels in general and defining things in general. So, so I kind of always want to say, like, it doesn't really matter what you call it. If it feels divine to you, then it feels divine to you. But that's just not always true. Like, sometimes it's absolutely important for some people to say, okay, this is a soulmate. This is karmic. This is twin flame. Sometimes we need those discussions. And so you need terms in order to have discussions with people, and you need advice regarding, okay, this particular journey looks like this journey looks like this. Sometimes, but you know, I personally just resist those labels, and I like to say, like, if it feels divine to you, then it feels divine to you. And even if it's just a sexual attraction, who's to say it's not divine? We are love embodied here. We're all divinity here. That seems divine to me as well. It's just a different type. But in any case, whatever you label it as, or if you don't label it, whether you like the word soulmate or not, you are advised to acknowledge what this person is to you, regardless of whether you're just coming back together for a hookup or actually going to try to make a go of it again, or whatever the case is, however it actually plays out in your life. You do need to acknowledge what you all mean to each other, and probably that you have a psychic connection. Yeah. Yep. You do. You have a psychic connection with this person. Like I said, it didn't take much more than you just like being in your feelings and thinking about like wanting to attract maybe just a divine partner, not even this particular person. And here they come back again. Here they come gravitating towards you. So you need to acknowledge what you two all are to each other, and there needs to be some closure. Now, this could be a closure and a completion in terms of, like I said, you actually try to make the partnership work again. Maybe you're ready now. Maybe you weren't ready before and you're ready now. Maybe the first and the second message actually mixes for the two of you, or I mean, for some of you. If you listen to the first reading as well, you know, it was about maybe missing an opportunity, maybe not taking an opportunity. And like I said at the time during that reading, I said, you know, if it's meant for you, it'll come back around. So both messages could have been about the same thing for some of you. But yeah, there's a need to acknowledge that psychic connection, a need to acknowledge that it's a divine partnership, a need for a sense of closure, whatever that means. If you're not going to give it a go again, if you're not going to try again, if you're not going to be together, then at least, you know, I think a sense of closure about what you meant to each other, why it can't work. Because there's a reason that it's coming back around. It's coming back around for some reason, to deal with the fact that there was never any closure, or to give you all another chance. And there's definitely, I can't help it, I keep wanting to say soulmate energy, you know, whether you like that label or not, that energy is here. We've got the Two of Cups, the Six of Cups, and the Queen and the King of Cups. I mean, the King and the Queen of Water. I think for some of you, for a lot of you Aquarians, this is about the fact that, like, one of you wasn't ready to have a family, and the other one knew that that's something that they wanted and needed to be part of their path, their story, their life, their experience. Because I always see the triangle symbol standing out on the Temperance card. I always see this, the Trinity symbol. I know it doesn't come through that way for a lot of people, a lot of readers, but it reads that way for me often, that it's about that Trinity. It's about mother, father, child. And honestly, if anything, this reading for you all just like confirms that type of a reading of that card for me. I mean, I'd already meant what it meant to me regardless, but that just hits it home even more that's that type of message for me. And I see that being, having been a lot of the problem, that somebody wasn't ready for the whole Trinity. And I have heard it said before, and I believe it to be very true, and I'm not talking you down, divine masculines, we love you, but I'm just saying, I've heard it said, and it resonates with me, that there are more women on the planet at this time who are, ready for that type of union, who are ready for two to become one. And I can absolutely understand and empathize with the fact that divine masculines at this time, a lot of them feel like, sorry, I just keep moving everything. A lot of them feel like exactly what I just uttered there. Sorry, I just keep moving away from you. And a lot of them do feel that, where they're sorry, but they can't help it, because when they think about the two of you becoming one, it's scary. They're like, okay, well then what happens to me as an individual? Where do I go? Like, I think we can all relate to that. I think feminine or masculine, we can understand that fear, right? That it does literally seem to translate that way. If two become one, then where did I go? Do I still get to be an individual? And of course you do. That's not the point, to erase you and your individuality. It's not the point, right? But I'm seeing that coming through, that the problem was that somebody, and I'm just guessing that for most of you it was probably the divine masculine, but could absolutely be the feminine aspect here. Somebody just wasn't ready for two to become one, and for two to become three, right? For a family and all that. And yet you haven't been able to let go of each other. There's Pisces energy here with the moon underneath here, the hangman and the moon. There's a lot of Pisces energy. We got water, a lot of water, and then two Piscean cards. So for some of you, you got Pisces in your own chart, and then we got the Queen of Wands, more fire energy. But see, the fact of the matter is that you all aren't wanting the other opportunities that you're offered, because you're still thinking of each other. You don't necessarily line up on wanting the same kind of life, but you can't let go of each other. So every other relationship you're in, every other endeavor you try to embark on, you end up going back to thinking about, gosh, I wish I could have a divine partnership. And then you attract this same person back to you, because this is a divine partner for you. And you haven't had a sense of closure, and you're both still thinking about each other. And maybe the sense of closure has to do with at least acknowledging what you mean to each other. At least, I mean, and maybe just outright having a conversation where you say, like, this connection is divine. I feel like you're my soulmate, or insert whatever label you like there, right? I feel you psychically. I think about you, and then here you come. I think about you, and I can feel you. I can feel what you're feeling, etc., etc. But in real time, in real life, we just don't want the same things. I need a family, or whatever the case is, right? We just don't want to live the same place or have the same experience. And so I have to let you go. Or, so how can we reach a compromise? Or, so can we decide to just be friends? Because it's going to be different. Some of you can be friends. Some of you can't be around this person, at least for a while. Some of you can find a compromise and both want to find a compromise where you try again. It's going to be different. It's going to be work. It's going to be work. No matter what, it's going to be work. And I feel like I want to share this with you. I was listening to this song the other day that I had never heard before. I do really like Jessie J, and I haven't heard a lot of her music, but I love the few songs that I do resonate with her, with of hers, right? And I had never heard the one that's called Not My Ex. And it says, I'm not going to sing it for you right this second, maybe some other time, but it says in the song that one of the lyrics says, it won't be simple when I give you my heart. What else does she say? I know it won't be easy, but I'm down for the ride. And then another line says, it won't be simple. So she says outright, it won't be easy, it won't be simple. And I heard that and I resonated with the song, and I really liked the song. I don't actually relate to it, but I resonated with it. You know what I mean? I was like feeling it. And it's really beautiful. Check it out if you like that kind of music. But she says, it won't be simple, it won't be easy. And I thought, or maybe even said out loud when I heard that, I thought, oh, I want it to be simple. I need it to be simple, and I need it to be easy. And I just overwhelmingly felt the truth of the fact that it will not be. Like, I want that. And like I said to you all earlier, that's really nice to want things. Everybody does. You can't have everything that you want instantaneously. That's not the way of it. We can have all the things that we want, but you can't just have what you want right this second. As far as, usually, normally, not all things all the time, right? So I think that's the case here. It's like you both have a feeling of like, it should be easier than this. It should be simpler than this. And the fact of the matter is that this connection, whether you decide to be friends or detach completely or to move forward together, no matter what, there is going to be work involved. And I could be talking about the fact that one or both of you is really involved in your own work, and that's a challenge, that's part of the reason that you're not ready for a family, or they're not, or that's part of the disconnect because someone's so involved with their work, right? That could be what I'm talking about. But also, I think the connection itself is going to be work. Being psychically linked, not work, that's just something that exists for you two. Having this love and this intense attraction that I see showing up twice, not really work. It's just something you were that was gifted to you. It's just part of who you two are. Having these memories together, this nostalgia, those things aren't work, but the conversation will probably be work. Like, what are we going to be to each other? Are we going to just have some closure? Maybe just communicate that to them. Like, if you have the opportunity, maybe just communicate that to them. Like, I just need a sense of closure. Like, I wish we could move forward, but if we can't, then we need to, like, say for sure we're friends or we're not talking or something. I need a sense of closure, like an acknowledgement of what we are to each other and a sense of closure. That's what I'm seeing advised in your advice positions. And some of you won't necessarily have the opportunity. I see like a sexual connection in the near future. So I think most of you are actually going to make contact with this person. And so you will have the opportunity to actually have this conversation and do the work that conversation will require. But some of you won't actually be able to get in contact with them, and it's going to be about writing it down, writing out something that gives you a sense of closure, and sending it into the wind, sending it to no one, burning it. And that's so powerful. And I know you hear that all the time. But I'm gonna repeat myself, and I'm gonna advise it as well. If you can't get into contact with someone, the ritual or the act of writing something down and burning it is so powerful because it gives you the freedom to say what you really mean, to write down what you actually want, what you actually think, what you're actually feeling. No risk of embarrassment, no chance of someone finding it because you know you're about to burn it. There's no chance of them reading it if that's not what you want. No matter why you might be scared to face the realness of it, you're about to burn it in a minute. As soon as you finish, you can put it in the fire. So say what you really mean, get it out, So that can be just as powerful. Maybe some of you want to do both. Write it down and burn it, and then say a version that you feel comfortable saying to them, actually to their face, right? Sorry, I just can't stop fidgeting and moving this board. Which I really feel like is telling me that it's alive. Like, this message is so alive for you all right now. Like, your life is revolving around it. It's moving you. It's shaping your life. It's, like I said, it's a psychic connection. It's a soulmate-like connection, even if you don't want to own that term. It's divine. Now, the outcome of the situation is the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. So if it's an earth energy, Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, if that's how you primarily view them or, identify them, then it's likely that in the outcome of the situation, they won't be around. But this is just the path that you're on now, okay? This is a perfect place to insert the fact that None of these readings are ever supposed to be determinism. You know, none of them are supposed to ever preach determinism. To me, my readings, I'm saying, you know, and I would advise that you don't take anybody's readings that way. None of these things are necessarily set in stone. You can change your stars. You can change your path. You can change your future. This is the path that you're on now. That's what we get a snapshot of. And the point of my reading is to take an honest look at your past and your present so that you can choose the future that you want. And you see one option because you see the way it's heading now. And then you have the option to curb that, to edit that, to change that, right? But the path that you're on now, if it's an earth energy, it doesn't look like they're going to be around in the outcome of the situation. It looks like your sense of closure is going to come from something else. But I also see in the World card the advice of acknowledging that you have the power to manifest whatever you want in this scenario. So a lot of you Aquarians actually have the power in your hands. Like you've already powerfully drawn them to you. Probably a lot of you, if they're showing up presently or in your near future, then it's likely, like I said, just you sitting and thinking about them and having these fond memories and being in your feelings and wanting to attract a divine partnership. A lot of you have done that. I really do think it's somebody from your past with the Six of Cups, but this message could apply slightly differently to people who have attracted a divine partner, but they're not necessarily someone from their past. Maybe it just looks like they're in your past because you all have had this psychic, soulful link and connection for a long time, and you just didn't know who they were or who it was with. That could be the case. So for some of you that are resonated kind of, but you're like, but this isn't somebody I've known before, well, you know, maybe in another life you did, or maybe you've just known them psychically and intuitively and emotionally because you felt one another, right? But I'm getting the feeling that for most of you, it is actually somebody that you were involved with before. In either case, I see this really intense, passionate, physical connection. And the outcome of the situation, somebody is still feeling afraid to trust the other, and that could be mutual. But that's another message that comes through with the Nine of Pentacles reversed. Is either someone being really desperate to make this work, or someone being too afraid to trust, or too afraid to lean into the connection and then lose it, right? So fear is manipulating the outcome of this. Bear that in mind, that if they're not around or they're not receptive, it's a fear to trust, a fear to lose. And maybe even, it may be both. It may be a fear to trust and a fear to lose based on the fact that that the other one seems, whoever's playing which role, so desperate to have the connection. So maybe if that's you, that's something to rein in a little bit, lest you kind of scare them off, because somebody here is prone to fear. And I do see somebody's fear manipulating the outcome of the situation. So bear that in mind. And again, the advice is whether you continue forward together or not, whether you're just friends or you detach, in any case, the advice is just acknowledge. And I get the sense that you all don't feel the power of this yet. Acknowledge what the connection is. If you can't talk to them on a piece of paper, for yourself, but acknowledge what the connection is, how divine it is, even if you don't want to label it, and get a sense of closure however you can. Because I think a lot of you don't sense the power of that, like how powerful it can be just to acknowledge what it is and to move toward a sense of closure, no matter what that means, because you have an outcome or an expectation of what you want that closure to be. Like you want it to be a closure in terms of, well, we're going to try again, we're going to move forward together. But you just need a sense of closure, because like I said, as you try to attract and draw any sort of divine partnership into your life, these memories, this person keeps coming up, or even literally keeps coming back, because there's no simply no acknowledgement of what you mean to each other and no strive toward a sense of closure regardless. And maybe you left it open on purpose. You both may have left it open on purpose. Like, this person means so much to me. You may not have wanted to close it before because you were hoping some part of you, some part of one or both of you was hoping that there would be a chance in the future. But that's what you need now. That's what your soul needs. It's what your emotional body needs now, just to evolve, to progress, to keep moving forward on your own journey, whether it's connected with theirs or not. You need that sense of closure and to acknowledge what y'all are to each other. So I hope that helped, Aquarians. I hope that both readings offered you some insight. And if you would like a private reading with me, just scroll down to the description. Yes, I do those. Check out all your options and links down there. Otherwise, thank you for everything, Aquarians. Thank you for letting me know how the readings resonated, if they did. I love to hear it when they do resonate. And thank you for liking and subscribing, and for all contributions to Lunartics Tarot. Thank you. Welcome, Lunartics. I hope you make wise choices for yourself moving forward. And I love you. And I will post another tarot fix for you very soon.